All right, welcome to the Investor Town Hall Show. This is our first show, and we want to welcome everyone who's listening or watching. We're going to have Carter Matzinger, CEO of KSIX Media Holdings, on with us. And full disclosure, my other firm, Omnivance Advisors, is representing KSIX in the PR and investor relations capacity there. So on Investor Town Hall, we created this to encourage more transparency and open the lines of communication. And we want to welcome Carter Matzinger on here. And Carter has a very extensive background. He's a very results-driven entrepreneur for over 17 years, focusing on the online and mobile marketing industry, and he's shown deep insight into online marketing, including content development, emailing, social media, and performance-based marketing such as CPA, PPC, and CPI. I don't really know a whole lot about that, but Carter's an expert here, and he'll be explaining that later on here in the show, so stay tuned. Also, Carter's very committed and leading with integrity, responsibility, accountability, and very passionate about giving back to the community. So, Carter, great to have you on the show today. How are you doing? And thanks for joining us here.
Carter, can you give us some background on how you got into the business and how you've grown the company into what it is today?
Yeah, so I would say I've always kind of been in the I'm kind of on the age bracket of where it was starting to transition into computers. Back in the day, I had a few businesses running through college. I had 3 businesses going through college, and computers always came really easy to me. And I started getting into. We had a computer programmer that would come to our office to make things work, and it was running on a Novell network, just to kind of date myself a little bit. And I got tired of paying a guy $400 an hour to come make our printers print. So I decided to go to Novell, and I became a certified Novell network engineer at 18, just because I didn't want to deal with somebody else making my printer print. It was just ridiculous. So Novell was wondering why the heck I decided to become a Novell network engineer. And I said, well, it was just to make this guy not have to come to my office for $400 an hour. And I said, well, we want to hire you. And I said, well, it's not why I came here. I just wanted to get it taken care of. And it was back in the DOS days. So I've always kind of understood computers and the programming side of things. And then, business and marketing was really more of my love and passion. So went through college, because I had the businesses. We ended up doing business administration because I could take courses that I needed for my businesses that I ran through college, and just really got into. And that was right when all the, I'd say, internet was coming about, and was getting into web page development and things like that. So I started doing, out of college, I got asked to go to Ohio to work for a leadership development and diversity training company, and help them build out their website, their marketing materials, and so on and so forth. And I got them into Goodyear and CompuServe and things like that. And we were doing a lot of training and development. And, so I was on the marketing side of things, but still kind of getting into the computer aspect of the world. And then in 99, everybody was spending all their HR dollars into Y2K concerns. And so our industry took a pretty big hit, and I flew to California to learn how to create our leadership development and diversity training programs online. So when I was at that course learning how to develop those things, someone showed me a CD business card, and it was basically a CD that was the size of a business card, and it was a pretty novel item for the time, and it was a pretty impressive technology. So I went and learned how to develop those and started that company and did well quickly, and then sold that company and started getting into more consulting capacity of things. And people started asking me, because I knew programming enough, but I was more in the business side of things, I could bridge the gap between CEOs and programmers pretty well. I could speak to the programmer saying, well, this is what the CEO is really wanting, and I could, speak to the CEO what the programmer was really saying. So I just kind of bridged that gap for a while and started getting really into marketing. I started consulting for a company out of Florida that was doing affiliate marketing, and we did just an obnoxious amount of business for affiliate marketing. That was my first entree into affiliate marketing. And then from there, I met a few guys in a coffee shop, and they started telling me about how a certain type of marketing was going online called marketing. Never heard of it before. And we started the company Boulevard Media Group. And so that's kind of how we started getting into online marketing. And it kind of evolved from there. So it's kind of forced into it, but it's a passion of mine.
And Carter, regarding KSIX Media Holdings, Inc., can you give us the core function and focus of the business there and how you'll be strategizing going after the market here?
In my industry, there's a lot of folks that are, I'd say, kind of within our size in that $2 to $15 million range, revenue generating companies that are good. And what I've noticed in my industry is that there's guys that were good marketers. They were developing these companies, and what happens is you, after $1 million in revenue, you're just not a marketer anymore. Now you're becoming a business owner, and at 2 million, now you have employees and HR issues, and now you're completely out of marketing, but you're managing a business. And so what I started looking at is there's some very good niche marketing companies. Let's say good Facebook marketing, good YouTube marketing, good email marketing, good mobile marketing, really strong web assets that are revenue generating, and these guys have no exit strategy at all and no way of really scaling. So when you're in that income range or the revenue range, you're kind of stuck. So what I started looking at was, how can I help our group that are very good at what they do, their unique revenue generating models, put them underneath one umbrella to make a very agile digital ad agency with unique niche verticals underneath it. So the whole concept under KSIX Media Holdings is a roll-up strategy of revenue producing companies with unique niche verticals to create, I would say, more of a larger digital ad agency that's agile and effective within their niches.
Well, that's great to hear, Carter. It seems like you're really helping these companies that really want to be a part of something bigger and getting those talented people back to what they do best. Especially with this type of industry, it's growing immensely. Where do you see the industry going here in the coming years?
Just going to keep growing. I mean, it's in the billions in revenue and volume. It's growing internationally. Mobile obviously is really taking everything to a whole new level. It's just not stopping. I mean, take a look at Facebook. The digital side of things is just growing. So, the key on that is really keeping up with the times and finding what is working for the advertisers and what is a good conversion point where a lot of people have been in the old days, were paying on the clicks or paying on views, kind of like old Nielsen data ratings type stuff for newspaper reach or billboard or TV. So now where a lot of this stuff is headed is kind of the industry we're in, is the cost per action, where people are actually getting paid or paying for an actionable event like a sign up or a download or an install, where there's actually a result showing for what they paid for in their advertising. And that's really where a lot of these advertisers are getting more and more focused on, because they need to see a return on their investment for their advertising dollars. So it's looking at all the different niches and how can we show that people are actually getting a return on their investment for and getting what they wanted, a sign up, a download of their app, a call, a phone call, could be a bunch of different things.
Carter, regarding, you mentioned CPA and PPC and CPI and impressions. Can you walk us through what those really mean for our viewing audience?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of acronyms, obviously, just like every industry, but CPC is a cost per click. So that would be similar to, advertising on Google. where you type in a search item for whatever you're searching for on Google, and then you have those ads on the right-hand side and above the top two, and you click on that, someone's paying on every click. So, those clicks range from 3 cents to, $100. So that's cost per click. Cost per thousand CPM is the banner ads that you would see on a really big website, usually, let's say, some news website where you want to put your banner at top placement. They'll probably charge you on a CPM basis, on a cost per thousand view. And then, you've got there's a CPI for cost per install, and then there's CPA, which is cost per action. Cost per action is kind of an overall term that is for some sort of actionable result. There's, cost per sale, things like that. So, but the cost per action is kind of, it can encumber, cost per install, because that's an event, cost per sale, anything there's an actionable event. So, the key is, if you're going to be focusing on a CPC or a cost per click campaign, how is it backing into an actionable result and finding the conversion? Kind of like, that's what we do a lot on Facebook.
And Carter, it seems like the core business is really driving traffic. Can you break down again for us, the viewing audience, really what that entails? What really is traffic and how is it driven?
Sure. So for example, there's a lot of different ways. There's people that have email traffic. There's people that have combined a really strong email database from their website, or could be a cooking site, or a recipe site, a coupon site. Somebody that has a very responsive database, a news website. You can pay to have them email their database, and you try and have it back out into a conversion. What we do a lot right now is we do a lot on Facebook, where you're basically placing ads on Facebook. That for anybody that's on Facebook that's listening, you see the ad in your news feed or on the right-hand column. You really get it focused on the targeted audience that you're looking for, and you're paying for the clicks to come through into some sort of conversion. So the trick there is, a lot of people have tried it on Facebook, and it's easy to do. You can put $100 in, and you can watch your money get spent on a like campaign or an ad or whatever. But to really get it to back into an actionable result that turns into a revenue, it gets a little more tricky. We have a lot of multivariate testing where we're testing landing pages. We have a click that clicks on Facebook. It'll go to a landing page where people can view the offer or the campaign, and then we have different variant testings on that landing page to see what's going to be the best converting web page for that advertiser. So that's one way.
Carter, pretty recently you put out a shareholder update January 13th outlining 2016, and also your congratulations on your first acquisition. Can you elaborate a little bit more there for us?
Yeah, so I'd say in 2015 we really worked hard at setting the foundation to make sure that the company was in a solid position, which I think we've done. We made sure it was a very tight float. We didn't want 1 billion shares out there in the market. We wanted this company is going to be around for a while. We want to get it up into the NASDAQs and keep moving on. So 2016, there's going to be a lot of focus on getting more awareness of working with you and your groups, getting more awareness of KSIX. Getting investments in for new acquisitions. There's a lot of acquisitions to be had. It's just going through making sure the right due diligence is done, and looking at how, when we do an acquisition, how it's going to go from, like, I'd say, everybody's heard this before, but 1 and 1 makes 4, where because now with our acquisition, to lead into that, with our acquisition of Digitize IQ, that was a major Facebook powerhouse for lead gen. So in the tort law space, which is class action lawsuits like the stuff you see on TV for IVC, filters, Xeralto, things like that. We do surveys where people fill out information and then see if they are somewhat qualified for a settlement, and then we get that information off to attorneys or other call centers to verify the information. But because of that, we are now able to take some of those campaigns, move it into the other company of KSIX, which has a bunch of affiliates that can drive traffic. So now that brought a new revenue source to KSIX. If we're looking at a new acquisition, let's say of an email marketing company, now we'd be able to take those offers and also put them into the email marketing company to help increase their revenues. A remnant radio space company could be the same way. And then also when we're acquiring companies, looking at their existing advertiser base and seeing, well, because we do so much on Facebook, is there some benefit to their advertisers that we can now start marketing on Facebook? Or could they benefit to an affiliate ad network where there's a bunch of different affiliates that drive traffic? So the key is to really look at companies and how they cross-pollinate and work together to, like I said, make kind of a 1 and 1 equals 4 situation.
And Carter, you've mentioned you've done extremely well in Facebook, and you've found it to be a very effective tool for the company. You even mentioned you have your own Facebook rep, I believe. Can you take us through a little bit of that?
Yeah, so Facebook, they're not quite, the ad model is somewhat new compared to Google, but they're growing. But they're obviously their earnings posted of showing their ad revenues, which is they're significant. We do quite a bit there, and when you reach a certain size, you actually get dedicated your own Facebook rep. So we are in communication with Facebook. We have bi-monthly meetings with Facebook, hearing about what kind of new trends are coming in Facebook, what type of ads they're looking at trying and testing. We have some software that plugs right into Facebook, so we have a little bit of a better advantage of making sure our ads are monetized a little bit better than just an average person just logging into Facebook and doing it on their own. So yeah, there's a lot of vested interest into Facebook that we have, just the reach and how specifically you can target to individuals on Facebook off of interests. So we have a really good relationship with Facebook.
Carter, as an investor, usually we like to ask questions and try to find a comparable company, find out who your competitors are, but tell us what makes you different.
Well, I'd say, there's a lot of competitors. There's a ton of online marketing people. I would say what probably makes us different on, especially the Facebook side of the world, is just the amount of ad spend we do spend on Facebook, and our technology that taps into Facebook. I would say some of our multivariate testing, and making sure that it's backing out into some sort of conversion point. Another big thing is we spend our own money to get it done. So we're not only just spending other people's money, just saying, hey, we'll drive some clicks to your website, give us $1,000. We don't do that. We're more saying, hey, let's figure out a lead cost. We put up the money, we drive the traffic and have it back out into some sort of lead conversion point, compared to we're just going to drive traffic to your site. So that's, I would say, one way we differ. We build out the landing page for the client. We really track everything down to the minutia. And then, there's a lot of ad networks out there as well, on the KSIX LLC side of things. There's a lot of competitors in that space. I think I can't really say makes us different, but what makes us strong in that is our people, and that we have very good people that have very strong relationships and, honesty and working with the advertisers and the affiliates.
Carter, is there anything else you'd like to tell the shareholders and viewers that are watching the show right now?
No, I think, one of the big things is, we are a baby company and we're in the beginning stages, and that's acknowledged. And I'm, proud to say that we are at the beginning stages, and I'm really looking forward to 2016 to really, take it to the next level. We're excited to be in that public sector to, acquire these companies with cash and stock, so it's not so heavy on the cash side. And we're looking forward to really making 2016 a fun year. It's been a big learning process for us, and I think things are really headed in the right direction for where we're going. And I think, in the next few years, we're going to be in a whole different position.
Well, Carter, thank you so much for joining us on our first Investor Town Hall show. We'll be sure to have you back on here again very soon, and thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
That was Carter Matzinger, CEO of KSIX Media Holdings. We're definitely going to have him back on the show very soon here, but stay tuned for the next CEO interviews here on InvestorTownHall.com. Also, make sure to join a stock board to start the discussion and get your voice heard.